And we are live. Welcome to this edition of Wealthy Wednesday. Today is going to be amazing. I am so excited. I was thinking about this all night. I kept waking up because I know that today's conversation is going to resonate with so many of you, whether you're a parent, going to be a parent, an auntie, an uncle, a grandparent, or you're just somebody who loves children, right? Today is going to be transformational. So, I am so proud and so excited and so honored to have our special guest speaker here today. She is a family and marriage connection coach, behavior change specialist, conflict resolution specialist, education consultant. She's really a wealth of knowledge and she's really helped me with my own relationship with my grandson. I'm so excited and so honored. And so please give it up and give a warm welcome for my amazing guest and friend, Miss Shayna DuPont. Take it away, my dear.
Hello. Thank you so much. That was such an amazing introduction. Thank you for having me on your show, Leah. I am really excited to talk about today's topic. I deal with a lot of families, a lot of parents, marriages that are kind of going through the ringer. And I'm really passionate about really creating just a non-toxic, emotionally safe environment for our kids, right? Kids, grandkids, students. I do work with the education system here locally. And I'm really passionate about removing toxicity, whether that be emotional, physical, mental, really working on removing a lot of removing a lot of our own personal belief systems and conditionings that cause us to make these automatic, choices or responses to our kids, especially that are creating a lot of conflict and disconnection in families. So I am definitely the person that is all about reconnecting and connecting on a deeper level. So I'm super excited to talk with you today. I think our topic today is amazing. Leah comes up with some amazing titles. You were
such. It was all you. It was all
you. No, that was you. You hit it. It came up, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's it, right? I'm so excited about today's topic. I'm so excited to be here. This is Araya Papaya, guys. She is going to be joining us today. She is my youngest. This is my youngest little peanut here, so she'll be joining us today.
Awesome. She'll probably drop some golden nuggets too.
She might.
And we have Sam Hall joining us. Welcome, Sam Hall. And also the amazing, my new friend, Jesse Staton. He was on our Wealthy Wednesday last week. Oh my goodness, this guy has so much great information, workout fitness. He does story time on Sundays. Can you believe that? I mean,
no,
just incredible.
I didn't even know he did that.
He does. And I missed it last week, but I'm definitely going to catch it this week. And I was with my precious grandson too. And then we also have, of course, our amazing friend, Chris, joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. When we talk about wealth, and I talk about wealth all the time, I believe that true wealth is having success in all areas, not just financially, but just like you alluded to, right? If we have toxic relationships with our parents or our children, that's not true wealth. I believe that true wealth success is having success in all areas, in your faith, in your family, in your finance, in your fitness, in your fun. And so when you were talking about this topic about true wealth is really formed at the dinner table, I thought, man, you know what? This is so profound. And really what triggered this was a statistic you shared with me. It almost brought me to tears. You said that like right now, it just even got me again, even just thinking about it. I was up all night. I kid you not. I woke up like 4 or 5 times last night. That the average parent spends less than 8 minutes a day with undivided attention with their children. And you know what? What I thought about was when I was raising my kids, we were all busy. I'm doing my thing. The kid, I didn't work, but, running around with the kids and martial arts and stuff and doing the cooking and cleaning and all that. And my kids all had sports and we were all going in all different directions. But what we did was, the one thing we did do is once a week, we would have dinner. It wasn't always on the weekend. It might've been during the week because my ex-husband had a different schedule. And we did that intentionally because during the week, it might've been kind of crazy or a lot of things going on, but we would have one day when we would actually sit down and intentionally have dinner together. So what I wanted to ask you is, Shayna, when you were sharing that with me, parents who are just overwhelmed. First of all, let me say this. The disclaimer is this is not punitive. So this is not to say, to make you feel bad. What this is to bring the awareness so that we can make some changes. So tell us about that article and what it meant to you when you read that, because I know it was really a deep impact for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I have to relook for the article. And I don't even remember where I found it, but I'm a nerd. So I do a lot of research. I read a lot of studies. I do a lot of, just random kind of checks into things, especially when I come across a family or kind of hear about some kind of issue. I like to know the stats or kind of the background behind it, right? Like who else is dealing with this problem? And when I found that, I was like, holy smokes, but it made so much sense because in America, we have such this like need to get this external validation, right? We are constantly like chasing the job, the promotion. We feel like we have to work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. Inflation is through the roof. People are having a really hard time being able to even afford a dinner to put on the table, forget just, setting aside the time where everyone is available to be able to sit and eat a meal together. And hold on one second, buddy. So I found that to be, it hit me in such like a negative way. Like my heart broke when I read it, but at the same time, I understood what the parents or the families are dealing with and struggling with, here in America, the way that our society is today. And that's really why and of course, I'm going to say this because this is what I do for a living, but I feel like that's why what I do is so important. I want to be able to give families that time, that freedom, just that ability to be able to not only afford, the food that they're going to put on the table, but to really be able to manage their time in a way that they're able to spend undivided, attention and have family dinners and be able to play board games, even if that's only once a week or once a month, and really start to be more mindful about how we're connecting with our kids. And when I really started peeling back the onion, I started realizing that a lot of parents' interactions with their children is usually coming from like an authoritative place. And this is why I say that. The kids walk in from school or you come in from work and it's like, well, why didn't you do the dishes? Why didn't you, why isn't your homework done? It's going right into what are the boxes that still need to be checked off. And we are so stuck in that mode that most parents or most marriages, they're not able to really separate themselves from that checklist, if you will, and really just enjoy the process of getting those things done and using that as time that can be spent together, right? And that's really where a lot of disconnection comes in. And that's why it's so important for us to have conversations like this so we can bring that awareness to people that there are things you can do financially to put yourself in a better spot. So you might be able to kick that second job. There are things that we can do on a connection level where you don't necessarily have to take them somewhere on a Saturday. We can have these little small pieces of deep connection, just doing day-to-day, like mundane tasks. You know what I mean? So there's just so many options. And I think sometimes when we feel like we're stuck, I think that it's almost like there's this despair that there isn't another way, or we kind of get stuck in this loop of how we're just automatically doing things on a day-to-day basis. But there is. My whole point to people is, are you willing to make the changes? Like, are you willing to do what it takes so that you can potentially free up that time, free up those finances? Are we, able to see that this is costing our children essentially their future, right?
Wow. There's so much to unpack there. We're going to come back to that. We've got a few more people who've joined us. Christy Williams, I'm so fired up. I've got a coffee chat with you, I think this next week, and I'm super excited. Also, Ifenwa has joined us, a new face. I don't think I've seen you here before. And Curtis Brooks, thank you so much for joining us. And Jesse, he's so amazing. He's like, you're incredible, Leah. I mean, I don't know that I'm incredible, but I do incredibly love what I do for sure. And then also Chris is saying, you know what? He said, you're so right. He said, you're so right, Shayna. And Tim, is saying hello. Love hearing about this topic. Yes, absolutely. And it is really true wealth. I believe our children really are our wealth. I mean, what good does it do us to achieve these things, these financial things, if we lose our children? I'm super blessed. My kids are all grown and they still hang out with me. I talk to a lot of people who have grown children and their kids, they're like, yeah, I see them, once a month, or we kind of talk on the phone and just kind of catch up. But I hang out with my kids. Like we go out to dinner, we go places, we, go on vacation together. But you know what? That doesn't happen easily, right? It doesn't happen easily. It is being, and I'm still in the process. This is why I have my amazing friend Shana, right? I'm still in the process. So what really hit me is that we as parents, especially, and I'm going to keep it from a parent perspective, is it's easy for us to just run into that authoritative role. It's like, check the boxes, get these things done. We're busy and we just need to get this done. So maybe what is something that a parent could do? And they're feeling the pressure, right? They're feeling the pressure. They've got dinner to make and the responsibilities of the household and such. And say they've got multiple kids. And, when kids come home from school, it can be a tornado, right? You're doing the pickup and they've got homework and I signed this and that. So what are some things, what should they do? Like say from that first interaction of the kids are coming home from school, or maybe you're doing the pickup, what should that be as opposed to doing that default? Well, what can we do to kind of like a trigger to help us to remember to do something different?
Well, I can give you an example of what I do. So I used to ask my kids, and this is typical for parents, how was your day? And most kids will just say it was good, or, they might complain about a little something, but generally speaking, they don't share much. So what I started doing was changing the question I was asking. And I would actually, and I still do this, I asked them to rate their day on a scale of 1 to 10. And then I will ask them, well, why did you give it that number? And I found that just by doing that, they were like, well, it was a 6 today because this, and this happened, or this person, said something to me, or like I was getting more detailed information and they were starting to download more of their day. So they were able to really kind of unpack why they rated their day that way, which also meant that they were more aware of kind of why they were feeling the way that they were feeling after school. And I would start to ask them questions too, like when we were close to the house, well, are you hungry? Are you tired? Like, how are you feeling right now after your day at school? And I started doing that because one of my kids, she is level 1 autistic. She has a few other, neurodivergent conditions. And if she's hungry or if she's tired or, anything like that, she is very combative and very difficult to deal with or talk to. And by asking her those types of questions, I knew when to just leave things be and wait until she got home, had a snack, potentially took a nap, and then we would kind of finish the conversation about the day. And another thing for anyone with like small children, and this could even work with like grandkids, right? Like if your grandkids are spending the night or you're doing like bath time. With my older kids, I wasn't aware. I would rush through that process, generally speaking, and maybe let them take a longer one on the weekends. But I started with Araya, I actually started doing like little plays in the tub with her. So I'm still getting the things checked off, but the whole experience for her is completely different. So it's not me telling her, we need to do this. You just need to wash up, put your hair up, we have to wash your hair, whatever. So I started making like little characters, right? And I got these little things that float around the tub, and the little fishy comes and the little fishy will come and let him squirt your hair. And like you put the little fish on the cup. So I started doing all of these things so that her little brain was just having a blast. It was playtime at that point, right? Now I'm still able to wash her hair, still able to wash her, still able to do what I need to do as far as bath time is concerned. But there was a deep connection there, right? We'll play songs, we'll sing. So it's like you're still able to check the boxes, but are you able to become more aware so that you can enjoy that connection and that process with them? Instead of it just being like, this needs to happen, we need to do this, and kind of being forceful through it. And by doing that, she doesn't resist as much. Where my older kids used to resist, especially hair washing, and the soap would get in their eyes and it would be like this whole thing. Where now with her, it's a lot of fun. So she loves to just go like, is it bath time yet? Are we doing this? And like, she's just ready to go and check off the boxes and get the things done because she knows it's going to be fun and we're going to connect. And that's like our playtime together, at night. So, a couple of small little changes like that actually make a massive impact, especially when, that study shows most parents aren't even spending 8 minutes of uninterrupted time. Well, if you can even break up, a half an hour, you can break that up into 5 minutes here or 15 minutes here, or inviting your kids to prep dinner with you. Actually, for Araya too, and also for my 11-year-old, we got these Amazon knives that don't cut. Like they'll cut vegetables, but they're finger safe. I think they're called finger safe knives. But I did that so that they could come into that process with me while I'm cooking. And it can be now a joint connected experience where we're still doing what we need to do, but everyone can be involved.
Yeah, that is so, so good. It's making it a game. And you know what? My precious grandson has really taught me this. Like, he doesn't like to wash his hair, just like you alluded to, right?
Yep.
But then he realized that if he laid back in the tub, he liked doing that. He's like learning to swim. He's floating. Okay, so I could wash his hair that way. And he thought it was pretty cool, right? And so he's making different forms with his hair and all of that, which is totally different than let's wash your hair. Come on, we got to get it done. And then it's just this power struggle, and it makes it not fun for you, not fun from them, and it's not really having the same impact. And we've got some great comments coming in here. Chris says, do you know what? We need to make some big changes as parents. And Chris, thank you for being so transparent. I actually have made a lot of changes with my precious grandson. And I think, Shayna, you can kind of understand because you've got the older kids and then you've got the younger kids. And with the littles, your older kids are like, hey, you never did that with me. My daughter's like, you would have spanked me or you would have taken that away from me. You wouldn't let me do that. Yeah. But, that was 35 years ago. So I love just making it a game. And Felipe Cofino, thank you for joining us. And he is our #1 HR department. He says there are studies that show that Gen Z and Alpha struggle more talking about their finances and their mental health. Education around this needs to start early in life, having those conversations. And that is so profound, Felipe. Sometimes I have these conversations, and my grandson is going to be 6, but we've had these conversations from when he could talk. As soon as he was articulating, he would ask me deep questions and have these discussions. And we talk about money, and we talk about how are you feeling? Like, what are your feelings? But I don't know that I did that when my kids were little, right? So we're fortunate that we have this conscious parenting. So give us an example. You talk a lot about conscious parenting. Can you give us like one example? I love the example of coming home from school because I think everyone can relate to that. That can be like a really chaotic time, or even getting off to school. Do you have this? Do you have that? Can you give us one conscious parenting tip that you have done differently with your older kids than with your littles now?
Well, I'll tell you, as far as, switching from the unconscious parent to the conscious parent, one thing I had to realize was I had a hang up with backpacks. So this may sound crazy, but I'm sure other parents can relate. I would just get so upset with like backpacks just being, thrown in the door or at the doorway or whatever, wherever they would leave them, just kind of thrown somewhere. The jackets go here, the shoes are all over the place. And I had to do some work on myself to realize that I had a connection there that, what I wasn't doing is I wasn't putting myself in their shoes. So not only have they been sitting in a box, essentially, right? They're sitting in these rooms, they're getting, spoken to, taught, whatever. They have to sit there, listen. It's so much hard work for a child to do that their first response when they come home is no different than someone who's had a long work day that wants to throw their pocketbook down on the floor and just wants to go and, grab a tea or like, let me just go put my comfies on. And that was what they were doing. But I was I was making it about me. So it was more about my ego of this backpack needs to be here. And I had to do the work to release that so that I could come from a place of understanding that they just had a long day themselves and they're in school for 7, 8 hours a day. Of course, they're going to come home and they're going to kind of toss the backpack. So I switched that and I now have a backpack tossing station right in the garage. So they can literally whip their backpack in there. They can launch the jackets. They throw the shoes on. It's a hot mess. But I'm like, this is your mess zone. So it makes me feel good that my house isn't a hot mess, you know, and they're not throwing things all over the place, but it allows them still to get that release after school of throwing the backpack or like tossing it down, grabbing their snack, doing whatever, and allowing them that time to process and then moving into unpacking their lunch boxes and doing, you know, the stuff that they know they need to do. So it's really coming from a place of being self-aware and knowing what our struggles are and what are we still attached to, or like, why are we not able to see things from a curiosity perspective, as opposed to just like telling them what needs to be done. So I think the first and foremost thing that I did when I was switching into conscious parenting was trying to look at everything from a position of curiosity. Like, what are they experiencing right now that is creating the behavior that I'm not liking? And then being curious with myself on, why do I not like this? Like, why does that bring up an upset emotion for me? So that's usually the first step that I start with all of the parents that I work with. It's transitioning into curiosity for the most part.
Yeah, that's so good, because I think about, like, even as adults, right? When we come home, we're just throwing I mean, even if it's not physical, we're like mentally need to decompress in all of that. And maybe we have a little bit more presence of mind that we put the keys away and stuff like that. But as children, that's kind of like their way, I would think of, just like, okay, I'm done with this. Let me get rid of it. And then energetically, and now I'm at home. I'm in my safe space. I'm going to get in my fuzzies. I'm going to, you know, have my snack and really get back into their home life, which is so good. And I love this comment here from Jesse. Create new routines and allow everyone to have their voices heard. Family time meeting, but in a different way. Add games that break the uneasy. That's really, really so good. Make it a game, right? How can you make it a game? How can you stay in curiosity? Because we have to see it through their eyes. And Jesse's got another comment here. We have to meet the children and adults where they are at the moment.
That part is really a major component of conscious parenting. And it is really, truly trying to understand the experience for the child. And this changes depending on where they are developmentally. Excuse me. So in the first 3 years of life, so Araya is still, you know, under 3, she's still 2. So I understand developmentally, the logic mind has not developed yet, right? So in understanding that, I am able to now see why she can have such a massive meltdown, punch me in the face, have a really massive reaction to something. Yeah. And as soon as that emotion is released, she can go right back to being huggy, lovey, kissy. There's almost no concept of time there. It's just fully emotional. And it's just, it releases how it releases. And then she moves right into the next thing. And I think sometimes as adults, we get stuck there. And it doesn't help us connect with the really littles. And then, you know, teens, they call the teen years or the preteen years, they call it the second toddler phase, because it is very large reactions. There is a lot going on emotionally, mentally, physically, with their bodies, with their brains. There's a lot of stuff happening there. And when we can understand what they are experiencing in those developmental changes, and now taking in external factors, you know, school, sports, whatever else is going on, and understanding who they are as individuals and who they are, you know, in their essence, we're now able to create a very unconditionally loving, supportive environment and allowing them to just learn by natural consequence without them feeling like they're constantly being criticized or like they're not enough, or all of these deep-rooted emotions that will really get stuck and really stop them from being successful as adults. So it's really coming from a place of looking at the long-term goal and what is it that you are trying to teach the child long-term. And I was talking to actually my mom about this, but there's things that it's not me trying to be a mean parent, but I allow my child or my children, all of them, to learn by natural consequence. So if I have one of my daughters that wants to wear something that she knows she's going to get dress coded for, I will bring it to her attention and just say, hey, is there a possibility that you'll get dress coded today? And she's like, well, but I really like this outfit, so I'll chance it. That's her choice. If she gets dress coded and, I get a call from school, it's like, well, you're making that decision. So I have to allow them to learn by natural consequence if I want them to go out into the world and know that if I make this decision, this is the result I'm going to get. If I make this decision, this is the result I'm going to get. And they have to feel the power, that empowerment of being able to make those decisions from a very young age, to give them enough practice, enough experience by the time they hit college in the adult world, for them to not have fear, but know this decision gets me here, this decision gets me here. Is this moving closer to where I want to go, or is it further away? But I have to remove myself from that equation and allow them to learn by natural consequence now.
Yeah.
If not, by the time they hit adults,
there you go. Yeah, for sure. And I definitely would love to rewind some of the things that I didn't allow my kids to have, those learning experiences, right? Instead of it becoming a tug of war, no, change that outfit. I don't want to change it. Now you're just allowing it, bring it to their awareness and allowing it, they understand what's happening there, what the potential is. And we have a few more people who've joined us. Eddie, the godfather of LinkedIn, is here. He will make you famous. And Jesse, you have so many comments. I am so curious, Jesse. I don't even know. Are you a parent? Are you a father? Do you have children? I don't know, because he's so in tune with children. He's just so gracious. And then we have Gracious. Speaking of gracious, we have a gracious joining us. And Jesse said 5 minutes, wow, of mindfulness in the morning with creativity, writing about anything. And maybe you can't do that with your child if they're not yet writing, or maybe that for them would not be an exciting, pleasurable event. Just finding some time to be quiet. I think mealtime is that time, but if it's not, if you're hustling, bustling, one thing I was thinking of at 2:00 this morning was one thing we did. If we had to do the fast food, because a lot of times we would do the fast food or we'd pack up food, stop at the park. Right. Maybe we couldn't have a mealtime at the dinner table, but we would have our meal kind of out and about, other than eating in the car, and just having that time to kind of reconnect. Let's see. Jesse has another comment here. He says, reorganizing how our homes look. Wow. Add different things such as plants or art that stimulates the subconscious. Yeah.
There is so much to be said about that, Jesse. Here's the crazy thing, guys. I painted one of my daughter's rooms like a lime green and like the fluorescent, like blue, like my shirt. It's just, it's happy colors, and she loves being in there now. It's like her little, I don't know, her sanctuary. But sometimes we get stuck there too with, it has to be this color, it has to look like this, or there's no way I'm putting lime green on the walls. But at the end of the day, I'm like, it's paint, right? I had to disconnect. I had to stop with the whole idea of that. And it's like, but it's in her room. This is her space. And if and when we sell, we'll just repaint the walls. It's not really a huge deal. But she has been able to now keep up with cleaning her room every day, because now it's like, I love my room. I love the colors. It makes me feel happy. Like now she's motivated intrinsically to keep up with it.
Yeah.
Little tips like that, right?
And again, it comes from just allowing it. Hey, maybe I don't like the lime green, but that's what makes them happy. Allowing them to make the decisions that they can. I love this comment. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name okay. If I apologize. Ifeanwana, she said, oh my gosh, I can relate to this. My teenager barely talks to us anymore. So what if we talked a lot about the littles? What about those teenage years, those 10-agers, right? When they are really going through that second toddler stage, what are some things we can do to open up those dialogues?
So I will tell you that if there has been a lot of unconscious parenting, and those first, 7 to 10 years, especially. It's going to take a lot of work to get that connection to be reconnected and rebuilt, if you will. But it is absolutely worth putting the time and effort there. And this is why we talk a lot about the dinner table. It's like, you can do what you cannot do anything about it, but what is that going to cost you? And I think a lot of parents get stuck in this conditioning belief system of, well, that's just how teenagers are. They're supposed to ignore their parents. That's actually a toxic belief. That's not true whatsoever. What is true developmentally at the teenage stage is that they are transitioning into adulthood. And this is kind of, if you look at or researched tribes back in the day, this is around the time when they're doing those rites of passage, right around like 12, 13 years old, 14 years old, generally is when those ceremonies are being held. So right at that stage, they are moving into adulthood. And that's just something that naturally their bodies are going to do. However, there is still a part of them that is attached into childhood or connecting to the parent. So we have to create a connection where they have the freedom and trust with the parent that they can dip their toe in the adult waters, so to speak, making, some more decisions on their own, being more independent, finding their kind of tribe. There's actually 7 transitions into adulthood that they will do, like 7 categories. And I do this with parents of teenagers, but there's a part of them that needs to still keep their other foot, if you will, in the waters of mommy or daddy's little girl, or being really nurtured and loved and cared for by the parent. And what's really difficult for parents is they're not understanding why they're getting those kind of big reactions or tantrums, the slamming of the door. They don't want to eat dinner with you. They only want to talk to their friends. They really disconnect from the parent. And we struggle sometimes to allow them to have these really normal parts of development and not holding it or taking it personal, and allowing them when they're ready to come back around, or being able to be the parent that's going to go after the meltdown or after the screaming fit or fight or whatever it is, to go back and just say, hey, that we could have handled that better. This is me taking accountability for my part. And, the parent can discuss, and usually it's like the parent will go off. They'll say something they didn't mean to say. Usually there'll be something that happens there, but most parents don't take accountability for that. When we can start talking to them and removing the label of you are my child, I am your parent, take that label away and look at your teenager like another human being having a human experience, and being able to connect with them on that human being level, and taking the accountability that we would if we had hurt our mom or our friend or a coworker or whatever, and just saying, hey, I didn't handle this as well as I maybe thought. And I tell my kids, I have these conversations where I'm like, hey, you know what? The way that I heard that when you said that to me was this, and that brought up a trigger because of this, or something that I had experienced, or some pain that I had gone through here. I'm very open with my kids about that. And in turn, they're very comfortable in telling me, well, hey, when you said this to me, this is how this made me feel. And this is why when you want to do this or you want to do that, I hold on to that. And they'll be honest if they hold a grudge about something. Now we're able to have conversations that are very difficult to have, but have them openly, where I'm allowing them to call me out on my stuff. And then I'm able to tell them how I feel about their, words or whatever else, and try to connect that way. That has actually created such a deep connection with my preteens now, that I know information that I don't want to know. So there's things that are brought to my attention that I'm like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know this. You don't have to share this. This isn't a thing. But they're just like, no. We just want your perspective. And their friends tell me things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to know this, right? But it's really being intentional about how we're connecting.
Yeah, I get those conversations. I'm just thinking back when my kids are teenagers. This brings up so many things. I kind of want to circle back, since you brought it up again, and everybody's got so many great comments. They just are loving this conversation. So let's talk about that teenager not wanting to come to the dinner table. Okay. And then also Tim has a great point here. He says, as an adult, I have to be intentional about reserving energy through the day so that I spend quality focused time with them. It can be easy to spend all your energy at the things you're passionate about, but my kids and my wife are truly my first passion and priority. And so for me, what comes up for me, that's a great comment, Tim, is that, us as an adult, if we're coming home from work to pick up our children, maybe we take a few minutes for ourselves to kind of decompress and unwind and get some water and kind of do some self-care so that we're bringing our true self. We can be present with them, even if it is those few minute interaction when we're picking them up through the day. So say more about what can we do? What are some ideas? Let's say we've got that teenager, they really don't want to come out for dinner and we're having that struggle. Is that something, what should we do about that? What are some ideas that we can do, how we can handle that?
It's funny that you say that because I get asked that question all the time. And the funny thing is, most people do not like my response to the question. So I allow my kids, if they don't want to join us for dinner, they don't have to. I try to get them to do that. But I think I told you with my 11-year-old who is neurodivergent, if she is struggling with something or she's just in a mood or she's tired, like she will huff and puff and she will actually ruin the energy around the dinner table. So I go and I make sure that she understands that, hey, come down for supper or supper is going to be ready in 15 minutes. Like I give her kind of some time, and anyone that has a kid with ADD, anything like this, it's really important for us to connect with them and give them that warning time because it's difficult for them to switch from task to task, right? If you have a neurotypical child, you can still allow them that grace. So I give them a warning, in 15 minutes, supper's ready. If you want to come down, I say if you'd like to come down and get whatever you would like to drink, or if you'd like me to fix it for you, whatever, but I'm asking them to engage, right? Now, if I don't get a response or they don't want to come down or whatever the case is, that's fine. Then I tell them again, okay, supper's ready. And they will, most nights, they come to the table. Occasionally, and this is usually my 11-year-old, will just, I'm not hungry, I don't feel like it, I don't whatever. And I will physically go into her room. At that point, I step away from what I'm doing. I go and I sit and I talk to her and I just say, hey, I don't know if there's something going on or if you're dealing with something or if you're just not in the mood to be around people right now. That's okay. I would love for you to join us if and when you feel ready. And she knows that for about 20 minutes to a half an hour, generally speaking, as long as we're not having a rush dinner, that she has about that amount of time. And usually within about 5 or 10 minutes, she will come down and eat with us as well. But I don't ever try to scream at her, force her, if you don't come down, you're not going to eat type mentality. Right. Generally speaking, if they are not wanting to join you for dinner, they could be energetically just not wanting to interact with anyone. And a lot of the times, especially if teenagers are not already talking to their parents and they're already very disconnected, they're not going to tell you that. What they are going to do, though, is they are going to have a very negative, combative reaction to the request to come down for dinner or the demand. Most of the times it's kind of demanded. They're not going to respond well to that because now it's another way for them to be able to challenge the authority. But if I remove that power altogether and I remove that energetic charge altogether from the scenario, they now don't feel like they have to go into a power struggle or I'm going to rebel because I'm just going through something right now and I don't feel like it, right? So now I remove the need for that big reaction. I remove the need for the power struggle, right? Or the need to be rebellious. I'm now just like, hey, it's cool. I would love to see you at the dinner table, right? Like I'd love for you to join us if and when you're ready. But if you're just not in the mood to eat right now, that's okay. I'll save you a plate. Within 5 or 10 minutes, she's down.
Right. That's
and now her whole energy has changed.
Yeah. Maybe they just are, like you said, maybe it's just overstimulation, whether your child is neurodivergent or not. I mean, we all have those times when we want to be alone. Maybe we're just not hungry. I never really had that problem. My kids all love to cook. And they love to eat. So they're like me, they love to eat. Unlike me, they love to cook. And so they would always like to help out around the dinner kind of thing. Gracious, yes, absolutely. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. I appreciate you so much. And then we have, of course, Miss Divine with her chime. She is here with us today. And gosh, Shayna, you're bringing so much value. Here's another comment. Thank you so much, Shayna.
You are so welcome. Can you hear
Gosh,
me?
you're coming in really, really fast now. One of these comments here, Divine says, you know what? Yes, family love, managing my energy wisely has been a priority. I feel the same. Yeah, so true. So let's talk about as our kids are maybe getting ready to leave for college or leave for school. You know, they're kind of getting ready. Those are some tough times. What are some things that we should be aware of as we're getting our kids ready to send off to their next their next chapter in their growing up years?
You're going to hear Araya in the background using my
Oh, that's okay.
my rowing machine as a slide over there. So if you hear some big crashes, guys, my house is not coming down. Don't worry. So I love that you brought up the sending off to college thing, right? Because as of right now, we have a 23 and 25-year-old, and they're already living on their own, have their own lives and whatnot. But that being said, we do still have 3 more at home, right? So we are not in that stage yet, but I am currently preparing them for that senior year of high school. Now, this is another thing that I get a lot of resistance on as well, but senior year, and this is the goal that I'm working towards here in my house, no rules whatsoever. That means no curfew. That means they don't have to do their homework if they don't feel like it. That means that they are free and clear to make whatever decision they want as if they are already off to college living on their own. And I'll tell you why that's so important. If and when they are going to fall flat on their face, if I can allow that to happen senior year, and not when they are around a whole bunch of other potential influential college kids, they are going to learn again by natural consequence what will happen if I stay out, and go to a party until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. What's going to happen if I don't do my homework? Now they're going to start to see their grades drop. Well, now there's a potential that, crap, if that happens, I might not even get into the college I want to get into, right? So it doesn't take many of those scenarios for us to step away from that. Our kids are going to just learn that, man, that was a really bad decision. By the time they get into that college stage, they're good. Like they know that, hey, I might want to go to a party, but maybe I'll stay until 11, right? Because I have an exam in the morning, or I have a paper to write, but I'm going to finish that first and then I'll go and, party with my friends or whatever. They're going to do what they're going to do in college, right? But it's how do we help them make the decisions that they are going to essentially be free and clear to make in college? How do we help them have that experience again for that senior year so that we feel much better about sending them off into that college space? Most parents panic at that situation because they're like, crap, there's a lot of influence coming in from all over the place. They now have no rules. They have no nothing. What is going to happen? So a lot of that comes from that fear perspective, right? Of just like, oh my God, what is going to happen to my child? And now I can't watch them, right? I can't make sure that they're doing what they need to do, or I'm not going to be able to have that direct impact like I did when they were home. So a lot of that just comes from a fear factor. So I like to remove the fear from the parents and really just say, hey, while they're in your house, remove yourself and just walk along that path with them side by side and allow them to fall. You're going to be there to help get them up. You're going to be there to warn them that, hey, there's a hole coming. But if they choose to keep running in that direction and they fall into that hole, okay, now what did you learn from it? When we can allow them to learn by natural consequence, we get to send them off to college and feel really good about it because we know that, hey, that senior year, like, started off a little rough, but they're good now, right? Like they're able to see free and clear of it.
Yeah, what I'm really hearing is stop taking ownership. We as parents need to stop taking ownership of what they do and allowing them to just listen. They have to figure out their own failures. They have to figure out when things don't work and what is going to work for them. And Jesse did say he's an uncle. Okay. I think he's probably one of the greatest uncles around. I wish he was my uncle.
I know, right?
The favorite uncle of everyone. Oh yeah, absolutely. And then, Divine said greater understanding. And we have Ari, my sister. Oh my goodness. Ari is an incredible powerhouse. She's going to be a guest on my Wealthy Wednesday. She's just such an incredible, her story. If you have not heard Ari's story, You absolutely need to connect with her. Her story will bring you to tears. I promise you.
I
But
need to have a one-on-one
energy.
with you,
Oh, you
Ari.
have to get a one-on-one with Ari.
I need
I
a
haven't had a
one-on-one.
one-on-one. Yeah, you got to have a one-on-one with her. And then, so funny. Queen Dr. Leslie Flowers said, "Hello, Leah and guest." And then she realized it was you. She's like, "Oh, Shayna, it's so nice to see the real you."
Yes, my dear Leslie.
We hear
This
you,
is
but
the real
we
me.
haven't seen you. And then Ari says, "Absolutely, that is what I did. He was responsible for all the positive and negative consequences with his choices."
Yes.
You are so on it. So we do have a few minutes for questions. If there's any questions, anything you'd like to ask Shayna as we have her now, you go ahead and put it in the chat.
So while people are doing that, Leah, I did want to just circle back around to the dinner table, right?
Yes.
And here's just another conscious parenting tip. So celebrate failure. Celebrate failure. We actually have this at our dinner table every single night. And even if we're rushing in between softball or baseball or whatever that we're doing, at least if we are all eating dinner, even if it's just standing around the island really quick, like we all give each other a quick recap of like, what did not go well today, right? And I do that specifically because I want my kids to have a beautiful relationship with failure so that it removes that fear of I can't do this, or I can't try this, or I can't start that business, or I can't write that book because I might fail. I want them to almost have that as an expectation that in order for them to succeed, failure is a part of that equation. So I want them to have a really good relationship with failure. So a dinner table talk, that's a great place to just be like, and start it off yourself. Like, hey, I really didn't handle this well today. Or you know what, like I have a deadline coming up and I kind of procrastinated on something. Or like, it doesn't even have to be like a big failure, just anything that we made maybe not the greatest decision at, right? So that they can also understand that I might be your parent, but I fail every day too. And I'm constantly just trying to move into, really doing something that is going to be beneficial for me and help me grow and bring more of an awareness and a mindfulness to whatever that thing is.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely do that with my grandson. And one thing that I do, because I think a lot of lessons are caught, they're not taught, right? It's really easy to say, check the box, here's a rule, but there's another thing for us to model what we want. And so one thing I did this with my kids, but I really am more intentional with my grandson is think out loud. So if I did something or I thought something or I said something that wasn't the best, I will say, gosh, you know what? I really didn't handle that well.
No, thank you.
And kind of like rewind it. Okay, I should have done this, so that he actually sees me going through that process. He hears me going through that process.
Absolutely. And you know what's crazy about that? And I love that you do that with your grandson. And I really wish I did it with the older ones. But with Araya, do you know that she now does that out loud? And she's 2, right? So when people think that just because they're 2 or just because they're 5, that they don't understand. Well, they may not have a full, capacity understanding of what they're doing, but what they are doing is practicing really important life skills. So when I can see, Araya, or she'll even see someone else doing something and she'll be able to call out what that is. And you can see her talking about the whole process happening in her head. It is so incredible to watch at just like the age of 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they understand that there is a process.
Yes.
Right. As opposed to we do all this internally, we never articulate it. And then it looks like magic. We figured it out when really we were going through a whole rationalization of how we were going to solve that issue or rewind that event that happened. And Miss Ari says, yes. Oh my goodness. I can't even see these comments. You guys are blowing up the chat. Let's see. I think we have a question here. If you have a question, put question in the chat. Tim says, I treat failure and success the same as we need to be used to learning and growing through every situation. What determines success or failure is a framework and objectives and measures the human setup. I teach them to be aware of what is determined, the measures that come, so that they can continuously learn regardless of the framework that they are being confined to. That is so true. That is so true. Tim, I don't think I've had the pleasure of meeting you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Tim is an amazing human. You need to have a one-on-one with him too.
Oh, okay. I can have a one-on-one with Tim.
Yes, you do.
Queen Dr. Leslie says, I'm hearing a lot about the process these days. Yeah. And she's got an incredible process. We have a goal process coming up on December 5th. If you're not registered for that, you've got to set that up, because if we want to thrive in 2025, we got to have our goals down.
Yes,
So I didn't see
absolutely.
any questions, but a lot of comments. You brought a lot of thoughtful things, a lot of things for us to think about, and really tactful. You know, I'll share a story. My precious grandson was just really struggling with getting frustrated and having these little meltdowns. And so I had a one-on-one with Shayna, and she walked me through it. And, you know, she's so awesome. I want you guys to just get an example. Like, she didn't say, Leah, don't do this. Leah, you're doing this wrong. She said, well, you know, sometimes when kids are having these little meltdown areas, it's when parents are doing too much for them, or grandparents. Okay. And it was pretty incredible, the transformation. I think it was just over a week's time. It was just things that I stopped doing for him.
Mhm.
And his behavior was just transformational, just in a few days. Not that I'm with him every day, but even over a week, I could see, even over a weekend. And then when I saw him the next week, it had really, you know, he still had the frustration, but he handled it differently, right? He was still frustrated when things didn't go well, but he was not having that outburst of crying, the meltdown, like, oh my gosh, like everything, you know, his whole little world is coming apart. And it was just making a little adjustments, maybe not zipping his zipper for him, maybe not, you know, getting the shoes for him, just little things that had a really profound impact.
You bring up a massively great point, and it just reminded me of someone with littles, right? And we get stuck in, again, checking off those boxes, right? We got to get things done. We got to move. We got to, you know, do all of these things. And you're rushing to put the shoes on, and you're rushing to get the hair done and brush the teeth and get dressed and change the diapers and pack things, right? And what is so critical about immediately not doing that, right? To allow yourself more time in the morning, especially when you're in those rushing to work, rushing to school type, you know, processes, if you will. It's so important to allow them the time to, again, have the experience and be able to say, wow, like I did this, right? It gives them that empowerment. They're able to now feel capable. A lot of these meltdowns are happening because we, without even thinking about it, this is just, you know, we're not consciously saying, well, I want them to feel like they're not capable of doing anything, so I'm going to zip the zipper for them, right? It's not something we're doing purposely. However, we are not allowing them to sit in that power that they have, that I may be little, I may be smaller than everybody else, but I can zip up my own jacket. I can put my own shoes on. My toddler is 2 years old and knows the difference between her left foot and her right foot. She knows how to put the shoes on correctly. But do you know how many thousands of times she failed at that? And I just said, well, that's okay. Like, does it feel right? And I would ask her questions of curiosity. Yeah. How does that feel? Well, my feet feel funny. Well, do you think they might be on backwards? I don't know, Mom. Okay. Well, why don't we try it the other way? What if you flip them around? How would that feel? So I'm completely engaging her in the process of being able to feel capable to solve a problem. Right now, she's 2. That problem, you know, for a while was which shoe goes on which foot. But when she's older, as an adult, she will no longer see things as this fear-based, oh my God, this is so, like, it's bigger than me, so I can't do it. She's going to come at it like, okay, well, this is a problem. So what do I need to do, or how can I do something different to solve that problem for myself without Mom and Dad having to tell me or doing it for me?
Yeah, I love that. Allowing them to feel capable. And it doesn't mean that they didn't need help with the shoes, but allowing them to struggle with it and try to figure it out. And then if they still can't figure it out, can you help me? And so that's what I learned to do, was just allow him to go through the struggle. And then he made the decision. Can you help me with this? Okay, it looks like you need some help with that. Yes. Will you help me with this? Rather than, you know, here's Gams to the rescue, and I'm going to fix and solve everything for him. But it doesn't really.
But you know what that also does too is it teaches them that when something is really complex and they're still doing all these things and they can't figure it out, I need to go and ask someone for help. And there's a lot of adults right now that struggle with asking for help when they are dealing with something, right? So we're teaching them so many lessons by just allowing them to make their own decisions, to fail, to struggle right along. And it's tough initially to kind of watch them struggle right along. You want to come to their saving grace, be their rescue, but you're actually not teaching them anything by doing that, right? So you get to teach them how to ask for help. You get to teach them that they're capable of solving really hard problems. And it allows them to morph into these really well-rounded, emotionally intelligent adults. But it takes us being emotionally intelligent first.
Yeah. Yeah. He was struggling with these magnetic blocks. I think you were saying that you guys have the same thing. And he, was getting frustrated with it. He kept it would fall apart and he tried to recreate it. But what happened is he learned that if he destroyed it, if it got destroyed, that he could put it back together, and how proud he was of himself that he could recreate it.
Yes.
So when we're doing that, we don't understand that we're robbing them of that opportunity to really own that process and have that celebration of, wow, I can do this. I can do hard things. That's what I tell them. You're a champion, and champions can do hard things.
And now you just helped him build resilience right there, right? So like, hey, something can, all hell can come down, but it doesn't mean that it's over, right? I can do something else. I can keep pushing forward. I can do it again. So like that resilience factor too. We teach them so many things by just sitting back and watching, right? And just allowing them to go through the process of what they need to go through at developmentally appropriate things, obviously. I don't allow my 2-year-olds to go up on the second floor and jump off the top of the banister, obviously. So you have to say that these days because I feel like, sometimes there's a misconception there. So no, this does not mean that you allow them to just have free reign and go bananas. But it's really just having a general outline and structure and allowing them, the ability to thrive just within these little borders,
Yeah. And I think it really comes from what you said way in the beginning is being curious rather than looking at as an attack towards us. Like they really don't want to put their shoes away. They really don't want to put their backpacks away because they just want to be, do something to us, but really just being curious. Hey, what can I do? Why are they feeling like they just want to throw these backpacks around? And then looking for a solution. Well, this has been so great. I know that you've helped a lot of people, given a lot of people a lot of hope that we can connect with our children and that we can truly have true wealth at the dinner table. So Shana, what's coming up for you in as we wind down 2024? What do you have going on? What can people look out for? Where can they find you and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, you can find me, of course, on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on Snapchat. I'm pretty much everywhere. You would like a banana? You can find me in Texas if you are local, right? So I am everywhere there. But as far as things that are coming up, I'm building a team right now. I am really, I don't know if I even said this to you before or not, but I used to own a chronic pain practice. I did that for 10 years. That's actually what I studied for quite some time, right along with psychology. So I'm now trying to marry mind, body, and spirit, right? So I'm really trying to remove all toxins, not just the emotional ones or the mental ones that I talk a lot about, but helping people to also remove those physical toxins from the environment as far as what's in their home with their children and their families, because a lot of the times these are things that could be triggering some of those negative responses that we're getting from our kids and really just not helping them feel good, right? So I'm doing stuff like that. If you're interested in learning or joining our team or really just kind of figuring out what's in your home, why it's really bad for you and or your kids, your family, reach out to me. You can send me a DM on LinkedIn. We're also going to be doing some things on LinkedIn, some audio rooms. I know you guys know the Fuckery of Parenting rooms. They kind of stopped for softball season. I am the head coach of the softball team, so that has taken over my life for the last few months. But those will start again probably the second week of November. And we're going to be really diving deep into how to get more emotionally connected. And really, I'm going to start doing classes on toxic-free parenting. And that is going to be done by re-parenting yourself. So removing the toxins that are there, whether it's conditioning, inherited traumas, actual things that have happened in your own life, that you've experienced not from your parents but elsewhere. But really doing a lot of deep inner work with you as a parent. I will be also starting some marriage classes, and then I will be doing a health kickoff in January, which is kind of why I'm working on a lot of the removing the physical toxins from the home right now. In January, I really want to start incorporating a lot more physical health in addition to the emotional health that we talk about. So we are going to be launching in January kind of like a big group where I would love to get a bunch of people together to just support each other and be able to really start helping us stay physically healthy and well so that we're not using our life insurance early, Leah.
Yeah.
You
For sure. Yeah, I love that you're really addressing the health medicinal part of it, because I wasn't aware, joining your event that you had over the weekend, that could be triggering these emotional outbursts that their children are having. This could be triggering, what's happening with them physically with their health. We're not aware of that these additional toxins are really contributing to that. So this has been amazing. I could talk to you forever. I think I'm going to talk to you in a couple hours. I think.
You are,
anyway,
actually.
Thank you so much, Shayna. This has been incredible. I love your knowledge. I love your wisdom. And I love that you just break it down for us so simple that we can digest, things that we can actually do and implement and not feel like beating ourselves up. Gosh, and just kind of moving forward. So I really do appreciate that. I love the time that we spent together.
I always love talking to you, Leah. You're always I'm going to actually send you a gold bar. Aww. It might be a fake one. It might not be a real bar of gold, Leah, but I forget who I was talking to. We were talking about you and I was like, oh my gosh, someone had brought it up and I said, that's a perfect, yeah. So Leah, I actually need your address and we are going to send you
oh my gosh, you're so funny.
So we're going to do that. And then you're going to have to go live and unbox it because you are the gold star lady. You have helped so many of us just as far as the finances are concerned, just really tightening up that aspect of our lives. And I just want you to know how awesome you are, how much I enjoyed this conversation, and how much I just adore you and love you. So thank you, sister.
I adore you and I love you too, sister. And of course, we're missing our sister Divine.
Where's the chimes, Divine?
I know, we need some chimes. I got the cowbell over there, but anyway, this is going to do it for this edition. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I appreciate all of the comments, all the insight, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to be here with us and taking the time to interact with us in the comments. So that is going to do it for this edition of Wealthy Wednesday, and we will see you all at the top, because we all know it is way too crowded at the bottom, because that's not where the gold bars are. Okay. The gold bars are on the top.
Right. Yes. I love you all. Thank you for joining. Have a great day.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.
You too. You want to come? Come, honey.
Is she going to say goodbye? Let's see before we go.
Come quickly. Hurry up. Hurry up.